Hello everyone, my name is Crimson and welcome back to my channel, and this is going to be the first video in a series of unit reviews and showcases. So I have posted videos of my entire army showcases, but I have so far not done videos showcasing individual units, and I will be doing those as I finish them, and explaining how I painted them, what paints I used, what techniques, what the model is, what it's best used for, and stuff like that. So I thought for the first video I would showcase, at the time of recording, the most recent unit and vehicle that I have added to all 7 of my armies, and that is the Custodes Corornus Grav carrier. So the simple version is that the Corornus Grav carrier is a troop transport for the Adeptus Custodes. The Custodes do have the ability to take a rhino into battle the Custodes do have the ability to take a land raider into battle with them as their troop transport. However, with my Custodes army, I just thought that the land raider would look completely out of place, so I decided to instead go for the much more Custodes looking Corornus, despite it being a Horus Heresy model, but it can still be used in Warhammer 40k. So, other than the looks, what are the actual differences between this and the Land Raider? So, first off, this is more points than a Land Raider, so it is more expensive to use if you're playing in a 1000 or 2000 point game. It's also a lot bigger, making it a much bigger target, but in my opinion, that's where the downsides, and maybe some Land Raiders might have better offensive capabilities, but personally, I don't think that matters at all with the Custodes. Sure, the Land Raiders do have some very incredible firepower. I would know I have 4 of them across my armies, but this does have its own defenses. So those are really all the negatives about this vehicle and unit. So what are the positives compared to the Land Raider? So first off, and the most important thing in my opinion, is this is a troop transport unit, and this can transport more troops. The Land Raider can carry, I believe it is 6 Custodes, and the Corornus Grav carrier here can carry 8, I believe. So normally what I do is I load this up with a squad of wardens and 1 blade champion, drive straight into the middle of battle and just open up and just unleash hell onto the enemy. It is really cool. The piece at the back here is actually meant to swing down, but I accidentally glued it shut, so oh well, but it's just for decoration. Also, this, like most of the other Custodes vehicles, is a hover craft, or an anti-grav tank in the lore, and normally it comes with a little small flying base to make it look like it's levitating, but I lost it, so here we are with it on the ground. So, another benefit of the Corornus over the Land Raider is that it is much tougher to kill, and with it being a hover unit, it is able to just simply bypass most small structures and barricades, so it is an incredible troop transport, and its armor is amazing. Taking one of these things down will take a lot. So let's talk about our defenses. So first off, we have our twin Gatling cannon. Now, I cannot remember exactly what this model is actually called because it is a Horus Heresy weapon, and I'm not that familiar with Horus Heresy, but it is an incredible turret. Able to tear into elite infantry, standard infantry, and light vehicles like a knife through butter. It also down here has these two little heavy bolters as well, so despite being a transport, it is quite strapped. So, like I said, it can carry more people, it is tougher, and it is able to hover over most things that might, say for example, stop a land raider's path. So let's discuss the paint job that I gave this unit. So first off, I did not do anything out of the box. I just followed the standard blueprint for Custodes tanks. So we have our gold panels and our gold basically everything. Some of it looks like it has a lot of swirls in it, or looks like that it's not fully painted. I don't know why. I literally just checked because I almost sort of a panic attack because that looks like it's not painted, but I assure you it is. But that is just because I used a black wash on it, because black wash from the army painter on gold is amazing. We also have our little bit of silver and gunmetal. For the turret here, I used the cobalt metal. By the way, I should just say this now, all of my paints are from the brand Army Painters. So I'm not going to say Army Painter every time when I'm saying the name of the paints, but just know that that is what I mean. We also have these red sections here, here, and here, all across the top, down here, and then down over here. And then lastly, we have these little coil areas, which again I did in the cobalt metal, just to have it look like a bit of a blue thing, almost like it's humming with energy. So, as for the colors, I used just the standard red from the Army Painter. I used greedy gold and the metallic cobalt metal for painting this, and I really like how it turned out. This model is one of my favorites. Ever since I started collecting Custodes, I have wanted one of these, and yeah. And lastly, regarding the paint job, I used the Army Painter's glossy varnish on the red parts to make them look almost candied-like, which most of them turned out, but some of them did not. But I really like how it looks. It just makes it look even more pristine and eloquent and stuff. So yeah. Okay, now we move on to the Galatus Grav tank. I believe I said that wrong. Oh, sorry, I believe I said that properly. I think it's Galatus. It might be Galatus, but I'm not sure. I have always just called it Galatus. So, this is the main battle tank for the Custodes, and it comes with two different turrets. So on this one here, and the one that I mainly use, this one here, it has blaze cannons on it, which makes it anti-tank and anti-monster. Whereas the other turret, which I am drawing a blank on its name, is more for anti-infantry and crowd control. However, I always use the one with the blaze cannons. The Custodes are essentially fully set for dealing with anti-infantry, between the most standard of their units to units like Blade Champions to Dreadnoughts like the one I showed you, like my Galatus Dreadnought. So anything that the Custodes have that is a dedicated anti-tank is great to have, so that is why I bought this. So the paint scheme is very similar, if not the same, as the Corornus Grav carrier with the gold. Again, all of this is done with Army Painter paints, and I used the greedy gold for the base and for some of the bits at the side. I used gunmetal for some of the barrels, and some weapon bronze for the start of the weapons, and then back here with these kind of, I don't know what they would be called, exhaust ports or energy batteries. I'm not sure exactly what they are. So again, similar to the Corornus, I have done the same red pattern with on the front of both sides, this little bit here, and then these kind of shield looking things here. And again, I did apply the glossy varnish paint for these, just to give it that shiny, candied-like look. Here's a better example of this one here. It also has the same coils, and again, same, I painted them, actually no, I did not paint them cobalt silver. I just painted them broadsword silver just to make them a little bit more shinier and less blue. And I really like how it turned out. Now this tank, apart from its main cannon, also has some double bolters. Actually, I can't tell if those are heavy bolters or heavy melters, but it has some secondary weapons as well, which is really good. So again, I know I'm like a broken record, but just like the Corornus, this is a gravity vehicle. This was actually the first vehicle that I bought for my Custodes, and this is one of the reasons why I decided to get the Corornus Grav carrier instead of the Land Raider, because I saw how elegant the Custodes vehicles are, and I wanted that over the Land Raider, which is just, it's not bad, but it doesn't scream, you know, the absolute decadence of the Custodes. And the Corornus is actually a lot bigger than the Galatus. I will show you a quick sized comparison here. So this is the size difference. So on the left we have my Corornus Grav carrier, and again, just like any other time I use the greedy gold paint, I applied a black wash to it to give it that nice look, so it doesn't look, I don't know what the right word is, it doesn't look tinny. I don't know if tinny is the right word to describe gold, but if you have used washes on gold in Warhammer, you know exactly what I mean. Okay, so next up is the Galatus Custodes Dreadnought. So the Achilles Dreadnought has a stone bolter or some kind of bolter in one of his arms, and carries a like colossal sized guardian spear, and as such his main role is to be anti-tank, anti-monster, and basically anti-vehicle. That's what his strengths are. Really good to have, and again, any kind of anti-tank unit for the Custodes is a must-have in my opinion. However, the Galatus Dreadnought is a little different. So the Galatus is a purely melee unit, and as such, his specialty is dealing with all kinds of infantry, from chaff to normal infantry to elite infantry. He just carves through them all. He is armed with this massive power sword, and has this really cool shield. I don't know if the camera will pick up the detail. But yeah, his main job is acting as essentially just a melee blender. And when you use both of them at the same time in games, which I tend to do, they are nigh on unstoppable if they work together, with the Achilles destroying vehicles and the Galatus destroying infantry. Whereas the Galatus is anti all kinds of infantry. However, there is one severe weakness that the Galatus has that the Achilles does not, and that is a total lack of range. He does not have any firearms whatsoever, not in his hands, not in his chassis. He is pure melee, but because of his shield, he is much more durable and tankier compared to the Achilles, so he can soak up lots and lots of damage. So even if you don't want to use him as your main anti-infantry, he is great for just soaking up damage because he can take quite a beat. And now we will move on to our final units, the Venatari. Okay, so now that we have gone over the tanks, vehicles, and dreadnoughts, let's wrap it up with some actual new infantry models for my Custodes, and those are the Venatari. So the Venatari are the airborne units of the Custodes, and they come in two flavors. So the first one being like this guy here, if it will focus, where he has this sprout of wings. And by the way, I did them in like this very bright copper, not quite gold, but just to kind of make them stand out a little bit from their fellows, since they are so different in terms of the unit type and how they perform on the tabletop. So the first type comes with Guardian Spears. So they're able to shoot while flying around, as well as essentially dive bombing people with their massive bayonet on the end of the Guardian Spear. So really good, and this is my preferred my preferred type of Venatari. The other type of Venatari is these guys. So instead of, if I can get some light on them, instead of having the Guardian Spear like most Custodes, these guys opt for a buckler shield and a pistol. And their role is to essentially fly around taking pot shots at the enemy. Now, they aren't that great in my opinion and in my experience. I had no idea what the Venatari were or how they performed or what the differences between them were, so I bought a squad of each just to try them out. And usually I end up just proxying these guys for having Guardian Spears, but the way they play is like hit and run attacks. The only definite benefit that these guys have over the Guardian Spear guys is that the shield grants them a significant invuln. So they are much safer and less likely to die, but I don't know, I just don't really like it, and most of the time the pistol isn't even that good. For a Custodes weapon, it is extremely weak, but maybe that's just the experience I've had with it. Let me show you a couple more of them just so you can see some of the models. So this guy here, as you can see, buckler shield and pistol. And then for some more of the guys with the spears, this is them here. So yeah, they are honestly not my favorite unit, but I am glad to have them in the army. I mainly just use them as bullet sponges or to force the enemy to focus fire on them, because they kind of have to. With Venatari flying around, dive bombing you and shooting you with Guardian Spears or shooting you constantly with pistols, you have to focus some portion of your fire on them. And while you are using your turn to shoot at these guys, that means you're not using it to shoot at my actual good Custodes units. So that is it. That's my new Custodes stuff. So thank you so much for watching. My name has been Crimson, and I will see you guys in the next one.